Hello, I'm Czardus. Grab some coffee, sit back, and chill as we play Europa Universalis V. Today, I am starting a 3-part beginner's guide to show you exactly how to start if you are a complete beginner to the Europa Universalis franchise. This is a deep, grand strategy game, but it has a lot of ways that you can make it simpler, and I'm going to show you how to do that. First thing we do is we go to New Game. By the way, if you are new to my channel, be sure to hit subscribe. So 1, you can catch the other 2 parts of this beginner's guide, and 2, so you can catch other beginner's guides and cozy let's plays. Those are what I do. But anyway, we are going to click play with a recommended country, and I'm just going to walk you through the different things that you're going to have available here. We're going to do Castile in this playthrough because I think it's a good start. It's a really easy entry into the game, and that you don't have too many fights going on at the beginning, not too much to worry about. In Norway, you can do politics, really focus on your internal strife and stuff like that. Holland, you can focus on economy and building up your like tax base and stuff like that. Same with Hungary. Ottomans, you really are right in the midst of things, and Naples. But you know what? Let me just show you really quick. If you go to select any country, this is a cool thing about Europa Universalis. So once that loads, you can see you can play as any of these entities or provinces or anything like that. Like you could click here and then you can play as this one small county of Mortain. You can do that, and you can even go to other parts of the world. Like you could play as the Cahokia tribe or any little Native American tribe over in here too, or you could even go over and play as Asian countries and Southeast Asia and anything you want. You have a lot of options in here. Now the only thing is that if you like click on one of these and come up here, there are no unique events added for these. I assume eventually in DLCs and expansions, they will add more events for other parts of the world. But for now, it's recommended to kind of stick to some of the main ones, because here you have 178 dynamic historical events, which, by the way, a real quick tip in this game, anytime you hover over something, a window pops, or like not a pop-up, but not a window, but a little pop-up comes up. And if you stick with it for a little bit, like if I stay on there and then move away, it goes away. But if you wait, there was a status bar here that filled up, and then you can see it sits there until I move away. And so you can come into the box, and then you can highlight over other things, and it will give you more detail about that. So like, this tells you what a country is and stuff like that. Then you could go in farther and learn about what an army is or a regiment, and then go even farther, manpower. Like, there's a lot of detail there that if you're patient, you can learn a lot about that. But let's go ahead and get started with Castile. Talking about Castile, we're going to have a character. Our king is the ruler here, King Alfonso the 11th. He's 25 years old and is male. And then these are different stats. We have administrative stats, diplomatic ability, and military ability. Those play into different things that you can do in the game. And that, as the ruler, that plays into the government's stats overall, because your ruler is the ruler of the government. And so those stats will play into that a little bit. Now, overview, we've got primary culture of Castilian, and if you hover over that, you can see the map changes to show you what types of cultures there are. Real quick, if we come down here to this spot down here, it gives us a whole bunch of different map options, and if we want to see more cultures, we can click on this one, and that will show you all of the cultures in the world in the different areas. And if you zoom in, you can get even more detail. Maybe not quite in this one. Yeah, you can get a little bit more detail, but once we're in the game, you can get all the way down to the province level. But so you can see the different cultures, and culture will cause some conflict. So if you own this land, and when we're Castile, if we are coming in and we're oppressing this culture, Galician, then it will lead to a revolt because the people will not be happy and they will get mad. So you have to pay attention to culture and stuff like that. Same thing with religion. Right now, in the beginning of the game, the only religion, and I'm trying to figure out where religion is, probably in here. We want religion. We'll go by location. Right now, it's pretty much just Catholic, but in a couple of 100 years, there will be a major split, and there will be Catholic and Protestant, and then other religions will start to appear as well. But for now, the major conflict is between the Islamic religion and the Catholic Church, and so there will be conflict as Castile, because you can see there is a little bit of religious conflict within the nation, but primary religion is Catholicism right now. Here you can see how many locations there are, what the population is, what the tap space is, the army size. That means how many levies they can raise. Right now they only have 200 regulars, which is typical. In the beginning of the game, you don't have a lot of regular armies, but you can draw a lot of levies because at this point in history, there weren't professional armies. And so a lot of it was just, hey, we're going to war. We're going to raise a whole bunch of peasants to fight for us. And that's what a levy is, essentially. Then a navy size, you can see that the same thing. You can draw, you have some regulars, which was a little bit more typical. You would have regulars because a ship you're building to go to war. You're building a little galley or something to fight, as opposed to a naval levy. When you raise those naval levies, they're really just fishing boats, and they're really just good for sneaking troops from one spot to another, but they can't fight. And that is a key thing. If you're in a war and you see a whole bunch of troops coming across the water, then you better try to sink those transports before they hit land, because then you're going to have a pretty good advantage there in the water. So then down here we have the different cultures that we see in our nation. At the beginning, you can see there's even some English living in Castile, but only about 1,400 people, as opposed to the 3.3 million that are under the Castilian culture. And the same thing with religion here. You have a little bit of 3 different religions present in this nation right now. But let's go ahead and hit play as Castile. Alright. So once it has loaded in, we're going to take a look at a few things here. So if you zoom out, you can have a nice view of the whole world. But first thing up here is what is called the agenda. These are the pop-ups that are different things that you might want to pay attention to. And like here, this is a welcome to EU5, and they recommend you look at the agenda, which I do as well. There's 2 ways you can see it. You can see what's here, or you can go over here to this ink quill or ink and quill and click on that, and then it brings it all in a pop-up. So you can click on, although if you hover on these, it won't give you the pop-up like it does up here. But down here, you can click on it and it will show it to you, and you can go all the way through. But yeah, so anyway, the first one is just starting advice. You can read through that if you want, or you can actually, you can't right-click to make that one go away. So I'm going to do it this way. We've got the welcome. We can get rid of that. Then we have possible rivals. So rivals are things that you're identifying one other nation, or another nation as a rival, and they could do the same thing, and that will give you some different benefits. So like not having a rival is giving us a hit to prestige, which we'll talk about prestige in a little bit, and a hit to antagonism received. So antagonism is if we fight somebody in a war and we take something from them, then other countries will have antagonism against us. And so without having enough rivals, we're getting more antagonism hit on us when we do stuff like that. Counter-espionage, you're not going to be as effective when you were fighting spies, and you're not going to be as effective when you're trying to build your own spy networks. So it's a good idea to have rivals. We'll go ahead and click on that, and then that pops up people who we can have as our rivals. So you zoom out, you can see we don't have anybody over here because they're too far away. There's something called diplomatic range. You can see it here. It is filtering by people or nations within our current diplomatic range. And that is determined, like if we had land over here, then that would extend our diplomatic range. But for now, we can only have rivals within this area. And then it will also not let us have people who are big enough. So like if we hover here, Granada can't be a rival because they it has to be one of these things, and they do not have a country rank higher than us, and they do not have more population than us. So basically, you have to grab somebody who fulfills those things. Now, we already have Morocco as a rival. I think what I want to do is I want to play pretty peaceful to begin with, because we want to be able to make some friends, and France here is very powerful early in the game, so we are not going to want to antagonize them, and we're going to want to make some friends to keep France in check. So I'm just going to have these nations as our rivals. So now we have both of those. Now if you right click, you can remove them, but you can see here, remove rival for a 25 hit on stability, 25 points. That's pretty big, and we don't need to do that. Right now we only have 29 points for stability, which again, stability we'll talk about in a minute when we get through our agenda. We'll get to other things. Then we have children can have a better education. So one thing we want to keep in mind is that, you know, we have our king, our current king, as the main character, and then we also have different children and spouses. And so like if our spouse dies, then we can enter a royal marriage or marry a lowborn or a noble. We'll talk about those things as they come up, but for now we want to focus on like our children can have better educations. You can click on their education here and change how we want, and that just will, like here, a 0.5 ability increase during their education. So their skills will go up. I don't know if that's per month or if it is per year. It has to be per year, because otherwise, well, I guess I don't know how often that tips. It does not tell us here. Here it is. Every month, a child has a 55% chance to increase their ability according to their education. So every month, there will be a 55% chance that all of these go up half a point. Or we can say that we want to have diplomatic education, and so then there will be a greater chance that they will have a increase to that, and then other, I think it adds both of the, so it would give, if the 55% chance hits, then it will go a 0.5 point to diplomatic, and then a 0.25 point to all three. So you could get a 0.75 increase on diplomatic. We'll go ahead with that. This is our current heir. No, it's not actually, because this is an illegitimate child. Yep. So they are prevented from being the heir. But we can hit OK, and then we'll click on this, and it will go to the next one in here. This is another illegitimate heir. So actually, we're going to do education. Also, you could do expensive education, and your court will go up in cost, but your abilities will go up as well. Let's continue to, the children are gone. So the other thing is that the other ones are too young. So these are, this one was 4 years old, and then this one is 3 and 3. One of the, here's the heir right here, Crown Prince Pedro. So this is the only one who is not illegitimate, and they are still a baby, and they have a rowdy trait, which means their military ability will increase Master. But anyway, now, next thing on here is diplomatic actions. So we have 5 diplomatic points up here. It says 5 diplomats, but think of it as points. It goes up each month or down each month, depending on some different things that are the factors. So like here you can see we are getting, this is a maximum of 3.5 diplomats. So it won't go up anymore right now, I don't think, because our maximum is 3.5. We're a little bit higher because of some sort of event in the game. But then diplomatic capacity is actually based on other things, I believe. Yeah, if we have upkeep. So if we have too many things, then it will go up. But anyway, that is diplomatic stuff. We do want to do some things with our diplomats. First of all, we want to improve opinion. So if from this view in diplomacy, if we go to improve opinion, we can see all of the different nations and their opinion of us. The first thing I want to do is I want to improve the opinion of Portugal and Aragon. Those are going to be 2 great allies if we can get them to join us. It's very likely that Aragon is going to have us be a rival, maybe Portugal as well, but we'll see how that goes. And England as well. England at this time was very keen to have Castile as an ally. Actually, they went with Portugal, I believe, historically, because they did not have many friends on the continent, and they actually were facing a lot of pressure from France in the 100 Years' War. But every time we do a diplomatic action here, it takes 1 whole point away. So you can see we've sent diplomats to Portugal, Aragon, and England, and so we lost 1 whole point on those. So we're going to stop at this point and then move on to the next step. Cabinet actions. Okay, so let's talk about our cabinet. The cabinet are the people who work for the ruler. And you can, at the beginning, you can have 2 cabinet seats that can be increased by different research things. So as time goes on, the cabinet will get bigger. Right now, we want to first appoint a cabinet member, and they're going to have their own skill points. And we want to actually, let's go back and we'll assign a action, and you can see each of these actions has a different skill associated with it. And so if we want to come in here, and the first thing I want to do is assimilate pops into our culture. So we are going to assimilate people into Castilian culture, because that is going to have many different benefits. And what I like to do is I like to go in and see anything under 90%. We're going to immediately, we're going to focus on that. And we'll start here at, this one is 89%. We will go ahead and start to convert the population to that culture. So that is going to need that diplomatic thing. So we're going to sort by diplomatic ability. And this person, Alfonso de Guzman, is going to be, actually, no, we are not there. Cancel that. You sorted the wrong way. Inigo Guerra is going to be a really good one at doing that. So now we can see 81.65% effective skill because of that trait right there. And then let's go ahead and do the same thing with this one. Going to go ahead and convert more here, and we'll go to Valladolid. That is actually our current capital, and we will appoint another one. This one only has 45 points, so they are not going to be as effective at it. And you can see the effective ability here is only 57. So it's not ideal, but it will work for now. So now the next thing, lack of a commander. We have an army and a navy, and they don't have commanders. So we're selecting a general for the first army. Now we want to have high military ability. And then we can see that each one has a different trait. This is a blue is a navy trait. Red is a battlefield or like an army trait. purple is just a general ruler trait. And then I think that's it, actually. We've got blue, red, and purple. So we're going to go ahead and just do the purple, the red for this one. They're going to be a good leader. And then we'll do the same thing here, except do the blue one for the admiral. Now, research. Research is next and is key. There's different things called ages, and these are different things in the game. They're essentially different stages of the game, and we start in the Age of Traditions. It does not last very long. We're pretty much at the end of that. But then we have each age will have 3 institutions, and they are like major parts of research. And in the Age of Traditions, there's feudalism, legalism, and meritocracy. And these two we have already what's been called embraced. It has spread to all of our locations, or it spread to enough, and then it was embraced by the nation as a whole. Meritocracy has not been embraced yet, and it has only spread to actually none of our locations. So we cannot embrace this, because if we did, actually, we can't do it at all. Yeah, because we need to have at least 20% before we can even click on that button. So what that means is when we come into Age of Traditions to see the whole research tree, we have here written alphabet, agriculture, quarrying, shipbuilding, organized religion. What were the 3? Feudalism, legalism, and meritocracy. So meritocracy is over here. We can't unlock that. And then other ones, feudalism unlocks some other parts of this. And if you go to Age of Renaissance, it's a little bit clearer. So the institutions there are Renaissance, banking, and professional armies. So Renaissance, banking, and professional armies. Those are the 3 institutions. And then this one, scholarly treatises, I think that just unlocks immediately. Whereas these ones require the institution to be embraced. So now in Age of Traditions, so we don't have meritocracy. So we cannot do any of the stuff in that part of the tree. But we come over here, what we're going to do, all of these are already researched by Castile. So we don't have to worry about pretty much anything on this side. Oh, no, we do have some things over here that have not been... No, it has been. Yeah, I think everything over here has been researched by Castile. But over here, it has not. So organized religion is stuff that we can research, and you can see the different things. Let's go ahead and get classic scholasticism, because it will it'll kind of snowball institution growth. It's got plus 20% institution growth. And first, we're going to research organized religion, because that is a prerequisite for classic scholasticism. But then we can queue up a few other things as well. Let's go ahead, and this will get maps literacy for burgers, which we'll talk about that in a moment as well. Let's go ahead and get guilds, and then I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just come down here and get these one, and just kind of get a whole bunch of stuff here queued up, just so that it is researching. I'm not doing too much planning here. I'm just really getting as much of that as we can. So that will be working in the background. So now in the agenda, we're into the slightly less important things. So we have things that are, the ships are repairing slowly because we don't have enough naval supplies in our market, which we can talk about markets in a little bit. And then inefficient minting. So we also don't have enough gold and stuff. So we're not quite minting as well. And then we have an underage heir, which means that if for some reason Alfonso the 11th dies, then our heir will be under a regency for that time, which regency does have some hits, I believe. And so that would make things a little bit less strong, which also, if you click up here on the flag, it will go to your country as a whole. and your government view. And if you highlight here, you can see this is our current heir. And then if we highlight down here, it shows our succession law and who is in line to be the leader. Now, Pedro is the designated heir. And then we have second in line is Leonora de Borgia, which is our Borgonia. That is Alfonso's older sister. She has a score of 30, which is less than this person, who is the nephew of Alfonso, who technically is in third in line, but has a stronger score, which means they have a really good claim to try to take over. If Leonor becomes the queen, then Baron might try and rebel and take over the country. So that is what we need to pay attention to. But anyway, that's fine. Underage heir, not a huge deal. Same thing here, unprofitable buildings. Losing money with these, you could go in and you can close them, but that would, like if we come in here and click close, this one is not doing anything. If you want to micromanage, you can do that. I don't bother with it because, you know, I'm not a micromanager, but there are ways to do it in this game, of course, and you can min-maps to your heart's content if you so desire. Pops with needs. These different markets, they have different goods that they need to get in their market better. So now is a good time to talk about the automation options. Over here, this gear here, if you click on automation, you can change what the game takes care of for you. So like balance, that is going to, if you tell it, if you click here on this, it will automate your finances and it will figure out everything for you. I don't go to that detail on it, but I do recommend doing trade. So it will go ahead and automate all of your trade. Production, it will decide what goods you want to produce. And I do recommend that because otherwise you can go into each building and like here we can go to this one and you can tell it what goods to produce. And that is really deep micromanaging. Then here, buildings, I like to lower this slider to about 500 and set this to automate. So then I know that as long as our gold here is under 500, I am the one in charge of building. Anything over 500, the game will automatically build new buildings. And that way I know that I can let gold accumulate and eventually the game will start taking over and building things for me. But I will always have my own supply of gold available if I suddenly need to go in and say build new ships or do something specific that I want to do. So that's one thing that I like to do there. Close and open buildings. That's what we just talked about, how you can go in and you can close the buildings. So now that should close and open buildings depending on their profitability. You can subsidize them, and that would make the unprofitable ones profitable potentially by taking money out of your budget. I'm not going to do that. Same with destroy buildings because I assume, I don't know for sure, but I assume that if you destroy them, they might be more expensive to rebuild. And so I would rather just close them. Destroying estate buildings, so your estates, there are different, what are called estates, we'll talk about that in a minute too, will go in and they will produce or build their own buildings that will do things in the economy. You can go in and destroy them, but assume that if you do that, then they will maybe get mad at you a little bit. RGO, this is a resource gathering operations, I believe is what it's called. I'm going to go ahead and automate that as well. But down here, now we're into other things. Like all of it up here relates to the economy. This all relates to your politics. And I like to play where I do most of that. I'm going to leave that not automated. And then red here is military and stuff like that. I'm not going to automate that either. So now we've talked about automation. Let's go. We already had that highlight. And here we can click on this. We can intervene in a rival war. So Morocco and Tlemcen are at war here. And if you click on Morocco, I don't want to click on it right now. We're going to close that and we'll click on Morocco. That opens up their country. You can come down here to see their war here. You can click on that and you can see how they're doing. So Tlemcen is defending against Morocco, who is trying to take them over. And Morocco is quite a bit stronger. So we could intervene if we wanted to and try and protect Tlemcen, but they're both rivals. I don't really care what happens to them, so we're just going to right click and get that to go away. And then this one is just an alert that we're close to being the target of what's called an international organization, which is essentially a group of multiple nations that are kind of co-aligned against you. And so like for this one, we could be targeted in a jihad, which would give all of them a reason to go to war, what's called a casus belli. And that is something that there are different types of those. And if they have one for a holy war, they get certain benefits. And so that's just something to keep aware of. It's going to happen for a long time, as long as the biggest thing here is we have, we're a neighboring country to somebody who's Islam. So therefore, it is pretty much going to be the case for us. And we're not going to be able to get away from that. So like any religion belonging to there has greater than 0 countries. That is true. Yes. The religion group is not Islam, so we are not in Islam, so that goes in there. And we are a kingdom, so that is true. And one of these is true. We have a neighbor, so all of the requirements are met, and so we can get that. And at this point, you're probably like, wow, we're 30 minutes into this beginner's guide, and we haven't even hit play yet. That shows you how deep this game can be. But again, with the automation, it can make it easier for you. Let's go ahead and continue going through the menu because it's key that you understand a lot of these different things. Up here, you have your different estates. So there are 4. There is, depending on your country, it's going to be called different stuff. So like in England, these are called the lords, then the clergy, the burghers, and the pretty much the commoners. And so you have your nobility here, your Ricahombria. Hopefully I said that, but they are the landed aristocracy. You can see down here a explanation of them. You want to keep them at 50%. So right now, this is their current estate satisfaction. You want them to be 50% or higher all the time, because then they're happy with you. There's more than half of them are happy. They're not going to rebel. If that gets too low, you face the chance that there is going to be a civil war, and you don't want that because you don't want to deal with the headache of it. That's pretty much all it is. But right now, there's something called the satisfaction equilibrium, and what that means is that is where they are heading. Right now, they're at 50%, and every month they go down a tick until they get to that equilibrium. That equilibrium can be impacted by different things. So like right now, we have taxes for them, which is lowering. So if we go to the economy, you can see we can tax them at different rates, and that changes the equilibrium. Now here's another thing that I like to automate. We're going to automate this, actually all of these, so that they are at least 50%. So when we hit unpause, this tax rate will go down a little bit and get that a little bit closer. But let's keep talking about our estates. So if you click on that, you get 2 different privileges that you can give to the estates. And these are things that you can increase their happiness, and it will change. Like if we do this, then they will have the equilibrium will go up by 5%, and the immediate effect will be a plus 15% to them, but the other estates will take a little bit of a hit. The other key thing is that their estate power will go up. And so that means the power is how much like influence they have on the population and the people. And that you can see here, the overall summary of your estate power. Right now, they are the most powerful estate. And in fact, they're more powerful than the crown itself. And so that's something to keep in mind too. We don't want to give them too many privileges because they're already pretty powerful. Then the clerical group here, you can see again, different things. They actually have a pretty high estate satisfaction. I find it's pretty easy to keep the church happy because right now in particular, everybody's Catholic and you just pretty much go with whatever the Catholic Church wants to do and then they're happy. Then you've got the burghers, which is the commercial class, and then finally the commoners, which will be the largest number, but usually the weakest power in the beginning. So they are not that strong. Then if we stay here, you can see the different amount of money that they have. So they have money and they can use that to build what they're aiming for. So like they want to build a salt collector. And then you can just see like what countries they like and what countries they don't like. And that is useful for going into your diplomacy. If you're wanting to make people happy, then you can kind of use that for a little bit of influence. Not a huge deal. Anyway, moving on, you can click here. This will take you to your budget. And in the economy, you have your balance, which is pretty much just your ledger here. You can increase your minting. So, and actually we can do that a little bit down here. It shows the inflation. I like to keep inflation at 0. If it goes up, like here, you get this little alert that says that everything is slowly getting more expensive in your nation. You don't want that to happen. You want to try to keep inflation minimal. And sometimes inflation can be good. Like if you take out a loan, and this is just economics 101 in general. If you take out a loan, it's set for a specific amount. And so I take out a loan today, I'm going to be paying a certain amount of interest. But that is going to be fixed. If I then start minting a whole bunch of more stuff, the amount, like the effective amount of that interest will go down. And so it won't actually feel like I'm paying as much. So that's just one little thing you can do there. But I, in general, in this game, like to keep inflation at 0 if I can. If you come into a critical situation, you can go way up on your minting, but you can see that inflation rate is going to go up every month by 0.2% almost. And so after a while, that is going to be a pretty big deal. But inflation is impacted by your minting level, and we are we're having some issues with our minting. That comes into the inefficient minting. It's only 50% due to lack of access to the needed goods. We need good gold and silver. But anyway, we'll keep this at 0 for now. We have a pretty good balance. Bring that back down really quick. There we go. We're at 0. These are automated. Then we have trade income that is happening just based on our automatic trading, which we have set to automatic. Selling food. The nation as a whole has some food, and we're selling it to different provinces. Here we can be investing in food. If we have provinces that don't have enough food, then we might be buying it for them, just to make sure that people don't starve. Here we have the cost of the court. So that is like things that the ruler is doing and like stuff in general, trying to keep the prestige up, which here we have legitimacy. And that plays in different events. That is shown up here. We have 76 out of 100 for legitimacy. That can actually, I believe, legitimacy... Actually, I can't remember if that can go negative or not. Stability can, but I can't remember if legitimacy does. Then army maintenance, we're not at war. I'm going to bring this all the way down as low as we can go, because we don't need to maintain much right now because we're not currently fighting. That will mean that if we go to war, the maximum morale will be at 1.84. And so it'll be important that we crank that up. And that's what this automatic raising will do. If we go into war, that will automatically kick this back up, and our morale of our troops will be at the maximum that it can be. Diplomatic spending, that increases how much diplomatic points we get each month. So we're going to keep that about where it is so that we have plenty there. Food we talked about. Stability is here, and stability has different impacts. So like here, we have positive stability. The higher it gets, the bigger the impacts from here are. Like also here, we have fewer rebels come in, and we have if they leave their rebellion faster as well. And we have an impact to our what's called the Great Powers score, which comes over here. This is the country rank. We're number 16 in the world, and the Great Powers score is due to these different things, and Great Powers score will then impact different things as well. Like it will, if we have a marriage union between two different nations where our ruler is the ruler of two different nations, or if they're married and their spouse is the ruler of a nation, then that can impact who is the superior nation in there, is based on the Great Powers score. Just a easy way of looking at a glance to see how you compare to others. Like Portugal here, their Great Powers score is 35. They're ranked 35. So we are ranked higher than Portugal. If you come down to this little one here, they are 640 sips. So that is where you can see that we are in there. Now we were on economy, building mate. Actually, we're going to increase our spending on stability, put it at 0.1. So it will go up slowly. Actually, no, let's get that. We want to see that be going up pretty smoothly. So we're actually going to invest a bit in that. And then building maintenance, that's just how much it costs to maintain the various buildings that we have in the country. The various like government-based buildings. Now, markets, if we click on that, we can see the different markets. We are automating our markets, but let's just talk about it for a moment. We have the Sevilla market and the Burgos market are the two main ones that we are in, and you can see them over here. We hover on it. It will show us some details here. How many population live in that market, how much food is stockpiled in the market, and the overall value of the market. Now, if you go to Paris and hover there, the Paris market is like significantly more valuable. But for our market, that is the one we care about the most because it is where we are. These are the goods that we have the most of: livestock, wool, wheat, leather, and olives, and the ones that we need the most of. So these are what we're really looking to trade for and what we're trading away. And then we have different merchants. We are the Crown of Castile. We have 42.23 trade advantage. That is impacted by the number of owned locations, our maritime presence, which is based on like our ports in the market and our ships that are out projecting power in the seas, and then any buildings that we have in foreign locations. So we could build potentially like a market or something in another country, and that will increase our trade advantage as well. Then trade capacity. We have a limit to how much trading we can do in the market because we only have so many marketplaces. As we expand those or build more wharfs or other buildings that impact your trade capacity, that will go up, and that will mean that we can get more trade out of that market. That's market as a whole. Trading, you can come in and you can say, okay, I want to trade for these goods and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into that because we are automating. I highly, highly recommend that at this stage. Now here we can go to stability. That, again, just clicking on that brings up the economy, but you can see stability has the impact that we talked about already, and we can see what is impacting or like making a change. Population, you can see here we have our top locations. When we're unpaused, we'll have a graph here that will show overall how things go. Legitimacy, that again has an impact on power and great powers score, stuff like that. You want to keep that high if you can, because it is a pretty big deal. You want to have legitimacy in your government, otherwise there are going to be more likely more rebellions and stuff like that. Prestige, this one is really hard to keep up because there is a base decay of 0.2, and that is a base value for every country. It is going to decrease most of the time. We do have a lot of influence, so like this country has a good prestige level to begin with, so that is going to be good. Diplomats we talked about. Here you have war exhaustion. If we were at war, that would be something to keep in mind, because the more exhausted people are about the war, the more tired they're like, I don't want to be at this war, this is really hitting me hard, I'm sick of this war, then they will start to push back, and it will be harder and harder for your troops to fight. Here we have manpower. That is for reinforcing your troops or adding more troops and whatnot. And here you have sailors. Okay, now continuing over here, we have, this just shows what your current research is and where you're at. You get research points each month, and then, you know, your progress and stuff like that. And over here, of course, you've got your clock and your speed. The game speed can go super slow. In fact, we'll unpause for a moment. You can see every hour goes by. Or you can go a little bit faster, and all the way up to the maximum speed is very fast. So I like to play on speed 3 most of the time, and I like to hit that pause button a lot, which for me is spacebar. I think that's the default. Over here, just real quick, you've got the ledger, which is going to give you detail about different things. Then you've got a finder. You can find locations in here. Europedia, this will give you more help, and like every little tip that pops up, like here, that's in the Europedia. And then your automation, we talked about that. Hints, so you can find more help there as well. Your agenda, and then your main menu. Then down here, we have different things. You can highlight the outliner here. You can change like what shows up in here. And you can close different categories like this. You've got markets here. I like to keep that open so I can keep an eye on how much money we're making in the different markets. When I'm not at war, I will make these ones smaller. And then government, I like to keep open so I can keep an eye on like this assimilation. And then diplomacy, I like to keep open as well. Down here are different messages that come on. You can right click, and then you can change what things show up. So like here, you've got the log, you've got the pop-up display. It will pause the game. If you click this, then anytime we press a claim, it will pause the game automatically. And so like here, if somebody declares war upon a country in our union, and where a certain policy is set, then it will do that. So like you can see the different ways that that can be useful. You can set it to how you want it, and you can scroll up to see different stuff. So like here, we gave these people spots in our cabinet and their roles and stuff like that. Over here, just real quick, you've got the government, we've got country, which shows, again, different stuff related to our country. You can see the states, parliament, how our different parliament is going. We don't currently have parliament. It was called 2 years ago. Eventually it will go up again, and then we'll need to call that again. The cabinet and what they're doing, and then different laws. You can change the laws of your nation for stability hits or stuff like that. Values, these are the different ways that we're like your society as a whole. So like right now we're valuing decentralization, which gives us these different effects, and these are ways that we can push a decentralization more. Or if we came over here to centralization, we would get these impacts as it scales up to it, and we would want to do these things to make it better. But right now, if we go here, current impact is we're getting boost to estate satisfaction, and most important is the loyalty of the subjects. When you have subjects, which we don't currently have them, decentralization is key. But anyway, you can go in and see the rest of those as you want. Economy, we talked about. Production, that just shows you the different buildings you can build. We'll talk about that as we build things. Goods, and then food stockpiles in all of your different provinces. Society, here you can get a summary of your current culture. Different cultures can have positive views. So like Castilian is our dominant culture. It is primary. We have defined it as our primary. And so that is what we have there. Then here, this one is a kindred. So it's pretty close to us. It's also Iberian. And then it is tolerated. It is an accepted culture, but it's not our primary. Same thing down here. I think these are sort by, just cultural opinions. So, we're neutral to the Basque and the Sephardi, which is the Jewish Iberian. But then down here, we do not like this one. This is an enemy culture down in Granada, primarily, and we have a little bit in our country. It is not a tolerated culture. If we click on this, we can add it to the tolerated culture list, and it will go to, it'll take a prestige hit, and then it will also change how we're doing this. So cultural capacity, if we accept it, then it will hit our cultural capacity. But anyway, all these other cultures are in there. And then works of art, these just impact how much our cultural influence is. So just real quick, the mechanics of culture. Cultural tradition is the defense your culture has, as another culture is hitting or like coming into your nation, then it's going to have its own cultural influence, which is the offense of that culture against your cultural tradition. And we have a really strong cultural tradition here. We are a happy culture. We really like our culture. And so anybody coming in who's trying to change us to their culture is going to have a pretty hard time. But that is kind of what you've got there. Religion, kind of the same thing. We're like similar stuff. You've got religious unity. We are very high. Their conversion rate. All of these things are impacted by different stuff. And again, you can highlight and see how that is. But then holy sites and cardinals, we have one cardinal, and so we will get to vote in different things that happen in the Catholic Church. Religion breakdown, same sort of idea. We have Catholicism is neutral for us, and it's our primary right now. These ones are negative or enemy. Holy sites, we have one holy site in our nation, and so that is nice. And then people, you can see their different happiness levels and literacy rate and how much goods they're getting. So like here, peasants in Basque, they're not very literate. They also don't have all of their goods that they need. And so part of that is they are not happy. They are losing 10% to their satisfaction because they don't have these goods that they want. Rebels, we don't have any rebels. Dynasties, these are different dynasties in your nation, and then different characters in your nation too. These are people who you can hire for army leaders and stuff like that. Diplomacy, we can see different subjects that we have. We can create different subjects if we really wanted to, which might be useful actually. If we come down here to control, you can see the amount of control we have over each spot here. And right now, this one has a little bit of a boost to its maximum control because it has town location and a temple, whereas this county or province or location, whatever it's called, only has that base control because it is a core. A core means that it is an integrated part of our country. If we were to take over another thing, it would not start as a core, and we would have to integrate it into our country before we could get that level of control. The key thing about control is that 20% control enables 20% of the tax base. So this area could be giving us 2.69 per month in taxes. But because we only have 20% control, we're only getting 0.53 out of it. And we're also having all of these impacts. So that's a big deal. And control is based on your proximity to your capital is the main factor in the early game here. So we have, this is our capital here. It has 100% control. And then this one is right next to the capital. And so it is pretty high. So its proximity to the capital is really close. And it also has a town and stuff there. Over here, we're a little bit farther. And so that proximity to the capital is lower. And we can come down here to see proximity to capital. And you can see the calculation there. So it starts at 100. And then it is going from one place to another for minus 34, because that is based on it's going through land. And then there's a plateau that it has to get through. That is the topography. And then there's farms. And so there's a hit from that. But it does have a little bit of a boost because of a current policy we have. And then a little bit of development in the province. So development is how much of the land has been like prepared to be used by humans. And so we get a little bit there, and then this is another policy and our administrative ability. So that increases control, and the control or the proximity to the capital influences the control. Known countries, you can just see a summary of different countries. Organizations, these are different international organizations, really not needed to go in there very often. And then diplomatic actions, you can click there to get to your diplomats. Military, you can see our armies and navies. Geopolitics, if we had colonies or exploration, we could do stuff there. Eventually we will. Maritime, these are just the different provinces or like the different pieces of water out there. We can click on this one and you can see we're present here. And so we are, we have a maritime presence that is influencing our trade advantage in the market. And then diseases, that will come into play very soon. Research we talked about as well. So we're an hour in. Let's go ahead and hit play and see a little bit of stuff happen. So I think I said that my overall strategy for Castile is going to be to befriend Portugal and Aragon. I think that will give us a good start here. But the first major event that is going to happen is going to be the bubonic plague, I believe, which, Aquitaine and Navarre have declared us as rivals, and Portugal did it as well. Well, that's a bummer. I was hoping to be friends with Portugal, but they're gonna be mad at us for a little bit, I guess. That's all right. Let's go to Aragon, and we're going to click here to see if we offer an alliance. Right now, they are negative 18. They want some of our land, but as we get a positive opinion, eventually we'll be able to become allies with them, which will help. This is going to come up like every month. A month just ticked by, and so that's why that came back up. We've got a lot of money actually. Let's go ahead and take a look at our military. So armies, we can have more regulars. I'm not going to bother with regulars right now, though I will tell them if I come in here, there's a couple of things I can do. I can click on the army, and I can go to select objective, or I can click on it here, select objective, and I'm going to tell them to suppress rebels. Just in general, that is what I like to have my armies doing when I'm at peace. My regulars will go around and they will just make sure any rebellions are being suppressed as much as possible. Navies, let's take a look at our navy. We have ships cogs, which are transport vessels. We have ships galleys, which are our strongest like military ones, and then 2 Iberian caravels, which are light vessels, which I think are going to be good for hitting that. Let's come in here. Those are here. They are going to be good. Let's see. I want is that maritime presence 0.1. Whereas galleys have 0.08. So if we have more of the caravels, they are going to really help that maritime presence. The downside, though, also they're faster. They can go at 2 speed, as opposed to the galleys, which go at 1 speed. The downside is that they aren't quite as good at fighting. They have, let's see, the hull size here is how strong they are, essentially. But they don't have as much what's called frontage. So that actually means how much they take in the front. And then here, flanking ability, these ones can go around the flank a little bit. And initiative, they have more initiative. Just trying to decide which one would be better to have right now. Actually, the Iberian caravels are pretty good. Also, we don't want to do the traditional galleys right now. We want to be comparing to the Catalan galley, which is a special unit for us. And they actually have 10 cannons on there, so they do a lot more. And they have a 7. So yeah, the Catalan galley is better than this. I think what we'll do then is we want to go back to our navy. I still want to keep an eye on our number of sailors, but I'm going to split this out. So clicking on the navy, I'm going to go to create new unit, and I want to get all of these cogs out of here because I don't need them going around. They can just pretty much sit in the port. In fact, if we're not going to go to war or like transport to other spots, which I don't think we will at all, we can come in here and I'm just going to disband all of these. So that means that we're going to get rid of these cogs, and we're not going to be able to transport troops for like across the sea. I don't need them. I don't recommend going to war where you have to go across water because it is much harder. And at this point, we are beginners and we don't want to do that. But I will come in here and we're going to create a new unit. Let's get all of these caravels out of here too. So we've got 2 of them. That can be a new navy, and we're going to build to that navy. We'll get maybe 2 more in there. 1 built there and 1 built there. Okay, so those are done. And then, so they will immediately, when they're built, they'll go and join this navy. Let's hire a new admiral for this one. This guy, Navy tradition from battles and prestige. Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to give them a patrol the seas task. We'll have them go up to the Bay of Biscay. Okay. And they will increase our trade advantage there. And then this one, we're going to split the first navy in half. So it is a group of 3 galleys in each one. And then we can come here, and that'll be the 3rd navy. Let's go ahead. We're hiring somebody here, and we're just going to need to do other stuff here. We'll just go ahead and just get a strong person there. And then we'll do the same thing with Patrol the Seas. And they'll just go in and do both of, like, each one has a different area that they are patrolling. So that gets our army and navy going, and they're going to go out and increase some of our market ability or our trade advantage in those areas. And you can see here that the game has automatically started building some buildings in different places, and the estates are doing that too. What I want to do is eventually we're going to want our capital to be down here, actually, because what I want to see is, let's go to not the tab space, but if we go into this, if we click here to open economy things, we can see development. Aragon, come on, man. That is going to make things really hard. If we go to Alliance now, we're going to have a big hit to that. So, unfortunately, it makes that idea a little bit tighter. That is fine. That is fine as well. Oh, and here we have the start of the 100 Years' War. Hopefully this will be over quickly, yes. So, just real quick, England was invaded by the Normans from here in the 11th century. And over time, they kind of new people, like generations later on, were like, why are we connected here? And England owns some land here, and then some of the Aquitaine is actually a, if we come here, they are a fiefdom of the Kingdom of England. So like they are ruled by the King of England. And so France is going to want to expel them, and they don't get along at all. And so over time, there's going to be like hundreds of years of fighting between these two. Not hundreds, just 100. And actually, it's like 80 years. It isn't, no, I think it was 130 if I remember right. And I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to look that up and tell me exactly what it was. But anyway, that is an event going on. We are going to pay attention to it because France is allied, or has subjects, and if we were England, we would really be paying attention to it, of course, but really, it's because Scotland is guaranteed by France. So when you play as England, you want to try and break that alliance between Scotland and France when you can. But we are going to pay attention down here. They have, let's see, where's their alliances? Proving opinion, guarantee. They have a guarantee on Andorra and Scotland. So if anybody attempts either of those, then France automatically starts fighting. They actually don't have any alliances. They have royal marriages and subjects, but they don't currently have any allies. So at some point, one thing you can do is if they go to war, other nations might join in, and then that can be your chance to declare war against the ones when France is distracted. But you have to be very careful if anybody is friends with France. Anyway, let's continue here. Oh, right, I was talking. I wanted to go in. Okay, so Sevilla, we don't have much trade capacity, so we're going to come in here, and that is centered. Let's see, trade range. I think it's, yeah, here. It's going to be right here is the market center. And what we want to do is we want to come in and we want to build more markets. Actually, what we'll do is we'll go to production. And one thing I love to do is go to buildings and pause again for a moment. I'm going to find a marketplace, and the marketplace is going to tell me where is the best place to build marketplace. Right now it's saying Toledo, Cordoba, and Sevilla. So we're going to click on marketplace and we're going to find those places. So it was, actually don't have the option to build them there. So unfortunately, we can't build a marketplace where it says it would be best to build it. I don't know why we can't build it in Toledo. Yeah, oh well. So it might not have the available peasants or, you know, the people that we need to work there. So I'm also just pretty much, you know, letting the game get these different things built, because that will, over time, it's really going in hard on a lot of building because we have so much gold currently. But that is not going to be the case forever. I mean, we have a lot of expenses. They really add up quickly. So hopefully we start to see more and more growth. I really do want to get those marketplaces, but like I said, it is not going to let us, which is fine because we are going to lose. Here you can see there are 300 available burgers. They are ones that can be employed right now, and adding a marketplace will require 250 burgers. Okay, now we had an event pop up here. Non-enforcement of ordinances. So we can read that, and we essentially just need to look at these things. We can let them handle it, in which case Toledo gets local ordinances, and we lose control there. We also would lose legitimacy, or we can increase the attempts to enforce the ordinances, which would increase that, but the lords will lose, what is it, 10% estate satisfaction. Their equilibrium is 50 though, so we can increase the attempts. That brought them down to 40%, but they're going up. They're going to go back up to that equilibrium. our heir can now qualify for a better education. We're going to go ahead and do an expensive education. So that's going to kick in right away. And then, yeah, unhappy estates. If they stay unhappy for too long, then they will want to rebel. So I think I was saying, eventually I want to change our capital, because you can see the development is down here. These areas are going to really have a higher tax base than up here. And so, although if we're more centrally located, like in Toledo, then we could get, in theory, have better control, but that proximity is only going to be in there. So right now, we're up here, and like I said, I think we're going to want to be down here, just because that will be a little bit better. Now, Granada and Morocco, we're eventually going to want to take those pieces from them, because the other thing is, if we come up here to government, we can click form new country, and in order to form Spain, we have to have 318 of the provinces in here on the Iberian Peninsula, which is what is highlighted there. And they have to be Christian or one of our subjects. So we have to really get I guess we really just have to get these ones out, owned by a Christian country or one of our subjects. And then we can form Spain if we wanted to, and that would give us some different benefits as well. But really right now, the biggest thing is we need to be building up our economy. And like I said, eventually I think we're going to want to move the capital. And every time, so we could, you click on the government, we can click to move the capital, but moving it would cost 500 gold and 13 stability, which is pretty expensive. On the other hand, we get a prompt every time our ruler dies, essentially, to come in and move where the capital is. So we can do that. Now, we've got another little pop-up here, and we've got, can gain religious influence, or we can gain stability and have a hit to our opinion from the Papal States, which I'm going to go ahead and do that. The Papal States are located over here. They are a nation led by the Pope. The new outbreak. So there is smallpox in Sevilla, which is bad because that is going to kill people. We currently, nobody has died, but it's gonna, I mean, okay, it's gone. No presence. But it has killed 450,000 people in the nation. And now we've got smallpox again. We've got 2 people in, okay, there. So you can see it's going up, and eventually that is going to be a really, really big deal. Sevilla is devastated, and I think because of that smallpox outbreak, we're having some it's coming back every once in a while. So that is something to keep an eye on. We've got more people or more children who can have better educations. We'll go ahead and give them military backgrounds. Is that just the only one we can do right now? Nope, here's one. We can go and do that. That's our heir. We have them on expensive. That's military. Yeah, that way we can have all of these as military leaders if we need to. We do have some rebels. The lords are getting mad, but we can get some of that fixed as well. So I think at this point you probably have a little bit of an idea of how the game works, and I gave you a nice overview of the menus and stuff like that. We'll talk about more stuff as we go along in parts 2 and 3 of this series. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you made it this far, because I think you really liked my content. But anyway, I will catch you next time. Take care.